Good morning, everyone. Welcome back. Welcome back to the live stream. Hope everyone had a nice, relaxing 3-day weekend and are ready for a good week of trading. We do have some news this morning. We'll get into that in just a moment. We'll give everyone another minute or two to join, and then we'll go from there. We'll jump into our top-down analysis, and we'll get ready for the opening bell. Again, welcome back to all the subscribers, everyone who's visited the live stream before, and also welcome to all the newcomers who have just located the stream or have been had us bookmarked, wanting to join one day, and today's the first day. Oh, after DB Trades, good morning. Great, DB. Absolutely. Let's get us something today. All right. Good morning, everyone. Had SMT at the lows of the Euro session. Okay. All right. All right. So here's the low of the Euro session, at least for Nasdaq, 16,881. All right. Okay, I see. Okay. So we not only just have a London low made, we have a London low that's been swept already here for S&P. But if you come over to Nasdaq, London low was made. This low did not sweep like the S&P. All right. Well, good observation, low. Appreciate you sharing that with the group. Zach, welcome. No, I didn't trade yesterday morning. I wanted to though. I saw a setup I liked. It was kind of late in the morning, so it was around 11 o'clock New York, I think. But I did see something I liked. Be interesting. Let's see if it even worked out. I'm not even sure. Let's see. I know it didn't work out actually. I was pulling for this high here, which was the New York session high from yesterday morning, and it got almost there. It got up to 978, and I needed it 981. So it didn't get there. I didn't take the trade, but it looked like it didn't work out. So what happens is it's the after hour stuff. So it's the same way the market moves during Asia at 1800, the same way it moves during London at 2 o'clock in the morning. So it still does after hours trading, even when New York is closed. And so that's what happened yesterday. It was open until London closed. And when London closed, since New York wasn't open, that was the end of the session. All right, Martin, welcome. All right, guys, let's go ahead and get going so we can hurry up and finish this in the next 5 minutes or so and get ready for the opening bell. All right, we will start again at our weekly. Last week we had completely inside range where it, remember we spoke, it didn't take the high or the low of the previous week. It just traded in between. Now, so far in 1.5 days of trading, we have already swept the low of last week, which was here at 102.7, and the previous week's high at 103.105. So we already see the dollar pushing for higher prices. Now, that doesn't mean that we're running up here. It could be a pullback just like this one, which then sent us lower. Remember, we have equal lows here, and we're still bearish on dollar. So as we see highs swept, it's also earlier in the week. So this is exactly what we want to see. And we're looking for dollar at some point this week, maybe today or tomorrow, to start showing that it wants lower prices. Right? Here we can see even better on the daily just how lethargic the dollar had been for 6 or 7 days. And now in yesterday's half day of trading, and then so far today, look at where we are. In fact, we even skipped this area where there was no trading at all, no values. It just skipped from here all the way up. So that's definitely something we'll see the dollar pull back into. And when it gets here, we want to see if it continues on. It's maybe for an Asia low, or maybe the low from last week. All right. Let's move over to our friend ES. Get back over to the weekly. Remember, we're always bullish, or we're not always bullish, but for now, we're definitely bullish we're bullish based on this price action, right? Sweeping this high here, continuing, we're still bullish until something happens where we get some values either sweeping these lows, or now that we've had a small pullback, if we now get higher prices and then we start sweeping lows, then we may have a market structure shift. But as of now, we're still bullish on indices, and ES definitely falls into that category. And so having a pullback starting the week, now that we're into Tuesday, this is completely normal. This is actually what you expect to see in the power of 3. So let's go down to the daily. See if we had any key levels swept recently. All right, so it looks like last week, I'm sorry, not last week. Yesterday's low has already been swept, or in this case, it says Friday's low. It doesn't show a Monday candle. So we're showing Friday's low being swept already. We'll have to wait and see if maybe Thursday's low is also in play, and whether this fair value gap is where it wants to trade to. Keep in mind, this is on the daily, and that value is 47.67. Get down to the hourly. Okay, I've already found some level of support here from the news this morning at 8:30, and now we see it's now pushing towards the midnight open. See, the London highs have already been swept. Asia lows. The only thing open still is the Asia high, and we'll have to wait and see where the New York low and high, where those land at 10 o'clock. Is when those fall on the chart. But until then, we know we have the Asia high, which has not been traded into yet. In fact, this is probably the Asia high from Monday. Monday's Asia high, and then we also have the trading from Sunday evening, which is listed as the previous day high. So we have several values above that we can go to as far as ES is concerned. It's good that it's already started to put in lower values. The London low has been swept, as one of the subscribers has already mentioned about the SMT. So that's a good sign to see, and now we'll see if it just continues to push for lower prices, or if it makes another retracement. Good morning, Vivian. Good morning, Dustin. All right, let's get back over. Let's quickly do this Nasdaq. All right, same idea on the weekly. We've not swept weekly highs yet. Not even played into halfway of the candle from last week. So we'll continue to monitor that and see how it works early this week, whether ES and Nasdaq are separated or if they're moving in tandem. Here's a fair value gap on the daily to find support if it needs it. We also have the one right here where it's pressed through. Just remove this. Right, it's pressed through, but we can see it's already recovered and pushed above the fair value gap. We won't know if it closes above until end of day, but so far it looks like it's rejecting that level, which is a good sign. All right, loads of fair value gaps on the 4-hour. Again, London low not swept yet. We'd like to see that swept if we're going to get higher prices. We do have that on ES, so we'll see if that's enough confirmation. But for now, we do not have that on Nasdaq. Let's see. Yeah, pretty much similar levels that we had on ES. So we still have an Asia high to go for. We still have yesterday's high to reach for. And then we'll see where the New York low and high land in just 30 minutes. All right, same levels on the 1-hour. We just want to note this fair value gap that we can see the opening bell trade into. That opening value is at 872, 16,872, all the way down to 857. All right. So now with that being said, let's move down and I will take a step back and we will all watch the opening bell together and see how this develops. Echelon, good morning. Okay, so we just had the high from the 8 o'clock hour swept. We also had the low from New York yesterday, traded back to. Just pay attention to these equal lows here. We'll just keep an eye on them, just make sure we realize they're here, just in case we see lower prices. There may be a price sweep right here. Potentially it could be a three drives. Yeah, could be where then you come and you see a sweep of this Asia low. Also these equal lows here, settling into either a fair value gap or this one down here, one of the two. All right, while we're watching this opening range deliver, I want to just quickly go over the news from this morning. So yesterday, basically, there was no news with the exception of there's a World Economic Forum, I believe it's called. Yeah, World Economic Forum meeting that's lasting all week. We can see last year it was from the 16th through the 20th. So this is an annual meeting that they have where it's central bankers, prime ministers, finance ministers, the likes from over 90 countries. It's the most important people deciding economic policy around the world are meeting, and occasionally throughout this week, there are going to be reporters asking questions about their outlook on the year, outlook on the quarter, anything like that. And based on their comments, they're saying we can expect some sort of market reaction. Um, it's hard to really gauge that when you're trading because it can happen at any moment. So just keep that in mind. But if we sort of disregard that because it's a medium impact folder and not one of the red ones, we did have the Empire State Manufacturing Index deliver a high impact news this morning at 8:30. Um, Looks like the forecast was a -5, -4.9. Previous was -14.5, and we came in at -43.7, which seems to be far away from the forecast, like well from it. Let's see what this is based on. Surveyed manufacturers in the state of New York, their forecast, and we came in much worse than forecast. So this is actually going to be bad for currency, which again should drive the price of the dollar down, which should be good for commodities. So we should be bullish. So, yep. So I just wanted to make sure we did cover that. When I did the top down analysis, I didn't go over the news from 8:30. So just wanted to make sure I didn't forget. All right, we're starting to see a rejection of prices from New York's New York's low from yesterday. We've now had back-to-back candles hit that level and push away. Most importantly, the current one, which is now showing bearish prices. It even reached higher than the previous candle, so its rejections into even stronger. Verinder, good morning. Yeah, Zach, you're right. This 4 hour candle, it's showing to be much stronger than any of the candles since last, I don't know, Thursday or so. But it will be interesting to see if it can push through this fair value gap that it's sitting in. Um, yep, or whether this is just kind of a setup candle to retrace back into the zone as it looks to go lower. All right, so now we've had the opening bell for 10 minutes now. Looks like we're pulling back to opening prices, so not a lot of progress so far. We'll see what the next 10 minutes brings us before we get to the macro period. All right, the rejection I was speaking about. Here we are back into that same fair value gap. It's the second candle in a row. So the previous candle rejected both fair value gap above, fair value gap below, close in the middle. Now we see the next candle retesting the bullish fair value gap below and down as it gets closer to the, what's that, the midnight open. Yep, we have the midnight open here at 16,895. We have the 8:30 open at 16,884. Go ahead. I mentioned these relative equal lows here at 872. That's something just to pay attention to, just in case we saw price starting to roll back. That could be a level that it wants to go and sweep. Right, so we did get a sweep of those equal lows. In fact, that got us down to 61% retracement. Exactly. Let's see, 870.75. The low on this candle is 870.25. So about 2 ticks lower. Swept through lows, swept 61.8% retracement, and now we see a rejection. All right, within this hour, I also want to point out that the Dow, we saw the Dow punch through its London low. So now it's the Nasdaq, the only indice that hasn't gotten through the London low yet. But DV, I think you are right. It does look like the three drives pattern. All right. Let's see at the time. It's now 48. All right. We now see price rejecting at the 830, which is this dotted line here at 884. I know it's hard to see. Let's drop the Fibonacci. Get down to a lower time frame and see if we're able to see anything different as we head into 10 o'clock. Yep, it's right there. I think it just did it. The dollar just broke the high. All right, let's see now if commodities follow suit and start taking out lows. Nasdaq's up first. Mm. Yeah, Zach, that 4 hours starting. You're right. That was you mentioned that was going to be an interesting point, and I'm looking at it now, and we got about 8 minutes left. Right now, it's not looking bullish. That's for sure. John, good to have you in the room again. You're right. It is good to be back. All right, let's see if the dollar is going to continue to push. We are closing in on the final minutes of the 9 o'clock hour, getting ready for the 10 o'clock. Just monitoring this 1 minute chart to see if we get a change of structure here. Rainmaker, good morning. Be right back. Let me just go and grab some coffee quickly. Hey, uh, yeah, fair value gap and breaker block both hit here for sure. Fair value gap here was never traded back into. Right, so there goes my limit order. Okay, 10 o'clock now. All right. You know what? Let's give this another shot. Okay. All right, so if I drop the fair value gaps just so it's a little cleaner to look at, just want to see what the measurements are on this leg. All right, so we're in 83.5% retracement. Still pushing. Okay. Get rid of the long tool. Yeah, there's really no reason to have the limit still there. It's made its way up too high already. All right, let's go back with the fair value gaps. I mean, I saw the fair value gap here that was traded into at 954, but I don't see why that would have been an entry. Because once this was traded into, the breaker had not been formed yet, had not been traded above. So yeah, I'm not sure. Not sure where the entry on this leg would have been. It's probably coming later in the hour. I mean, it's only been 3 minutes into 8 o'clock. And it looks like we missed the silver bullet, but most likely we didn't. And so there'll be another entry coming. Very close to the midnight open again at 895. All right. It's also, as we look above where liquidity is, there's also the new week opening gap, this lime green area, up in the 955 to 965 range, or 962. You can see it looks like price rejected right off the midnight value. Was anyone ever able to catch that long here? All right, let's see where the other indices are trading. We have S&P pretty much at the opening value of this hour. So it's already traded back. Roughly the same thing going on with Nasdaq. Let's see. Okay, no, Nasdaq is trading below its opening value. And we have the Dow. The Dow is also back at its opening. And we have the dollar trading up slightly. We'll see if the dollar can take over last hour's high. It'll be interesting to see if it can do that. So I continue to monitor the dollar just to see where it lands. It seems like the last several candles, the midnight open has been the support area where we continue to see rejection once price either touches it or presses through. We've had 3 of the last 5 candles. We had that happen. And each time we've got a rejection off the level. With this one producing about a 25-point move. And we'll see now what we get out of this one. From 895, we're already at 20 points so far. Good morning, Antonio. Welcome. Welcome back. Okay, hourly highs are coming. Looks like we're about 1 or 2 ticks away from 927.5. Again, this gets us to retest yesterday's low as well as look for the New York high from today at 946.25. That price was reached just after the opening bell at 936. Let's see what the dollar did. Yeah, the dollar did an equal high. So it failed to take over and make a new high. $69.80. All right, Asia high. Just looking to see where all the targets above can be. Let's get rid of some of these lines that were from Friday's session. We no longer need them. Okay, New York's high is within reach now. It's only a point or two away. Yeah, Antonio, I have 16,980 as a take profit. I don't know where the high is going to go. I'm not really good at picking highs. But yeah, I would pick a TP of around 980 if you're in a long. All right, I think we've tied equal the high of the hour. This is 9:45 and a half, and yep, 9:45 and a half. So we've equaled our high for the hour. The New York high is right within reach, which would be the high of the last hour. I think it'll be taken any moment now. And then Asia high. But before we get to Asia high, we do have a new week opening gap. So we want to make sure that price can push through that. Again, if you look at the weekly candle, that'll be where equilibrium is and where you have your opening price. And so we'll see if it wants to push through that or if that becomes a point of resistance for the moment. Let's see, let's get rid of this. All right, it's where price is where it was trading yesterday morning before everything shut down. Okay, we do have the indices moving together, which is great. We also have the dollar pressing down for lower prices after making those equal highs. We'll have to pay attention later, just make sure that the dollar doesn't buy up in order to sweep that high. But for now, it is selling off. Okay, those New York highs have now been swept. So we have a new high of the day, or at least the high of the morning session. Yep, definitely a high of the day. Up next would be the Asia high with the weekly, with the new week opening gap in the middle. So we have 955 up to 962. And then assuming we can get through there, then it's 965. So about 10 more points or 10 to 15 more points to reach all of those targets. In order to make new highs for the day, the S&P needs another 3 points or so. The Dow needs a lot more than that, though. The Dow is going to need another almost 100 points. All right, new week opening gap. Didn't look like it was a big problem. Another couple points, and we'll be at the Asia high. Okay, Asia high is gone now. We're now trading at 968 was the high. Let's move up a time frame and try to find the next point of liquidity. All right, I see it now. We have roughly relatively equal highs here. Let's see if this is where we want to go. Okay. Antonio, PC. What does PC mean? This is for anyone who took that fair value gap that was created during the 1009 candle, traded back into during 1012 candle. Yeah, stop loss was just a little too large for me. So it didn't work out for me to take that entry, but I'm sure it was well within the risk tolerance of some of you. And so anyone who took that trade, you're already at around 60 points if you're still in, 60 points gathered. Let's see. Yeah, a little over 60, 62 points or so. All right. Let's go back up to the 5 minute. Since we've already taken this pool of liquidity, let's look for the next one. Okay, so it looks like the next one is the previous day high. So it is 2 o'clock in the morning yesterday, actually, during the London session, the London Open, bought up, made a high, and then crashed for the rest of the morning. And that looks like where we're headed now. So let's remove some of these lines. We don't need them any longer. So this previous day high is the one. It's at 17,024. That's another 35 points or so. All right, we have the dollars to continue to push lower. There's a fair value gap just below where it is now. So maybe that's where it's pushing to, and we'll see there if it gathers any type of support and it gets any rejection of from that area. The last two times, or 1, 2, 3, last 4 candles have touched that fair value gap and rejected from it. So we'll see what this candle does. We still have another 36 minutes, so plenty of time on that candle. We have good price action with the S&P trailing behind where the Nasdaq is. Nasdaq is definitely the leader this morning, and the Dow is trailing far behind. Janus, you say you have, so you're in the long. Okay, good job. Good job for you. And anyone else who took that long, it was quite a quite a gain after that. But again, the risk was too high for me on the 27 points. It was just slightly high. So I need to reconsider whether going forward, if I will continue to bypass that trade or if I will get in, because I'm usually comfortable at 20. And then I can be persuaded to take up to 25. It's just 27 seemed a little large. But I would be lying if I didn't say the FOMO was hitting me right now where I wish I was in that trade. Previous day high in play at 17,025. Right. And so anyone who took this trade, if it is able to make it up to the previous day high, you're looking at 100 points, 100-point trade, 2,000 per contract. All right. The dollar is inside of that fair value gap now. So now we'll just monitor for the next 30 minutes to see how it reacts and whether it trades below or rejects out of it back to the upside. Let me just take a quick peek just so I can wrap my head around what the calendar looks like for this week and what we can expect. Right, so we had tomorrow morning, we have at 8:30 another high impact news day. Core retail sales will be announced. Thursday, again at 8:30, we have high impact news with unemployment claims coming. And then some other manufacturing index from Philadelphia, as well as building permits. And on Friday, another high impact news, but this time at 10 o'clock, University of Michigan consumer sentiment, along with University of Michigan inflation expectation and home sales. So we do have the World Economic Forum annual meeting for the full week. But then we also at 8:30 Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, there's high impact news, and on Fridays at 10 a.m. So we'll keep those in mind as we trade into the morning session throughout this week. All right, so we see prices continuing to make highs. We had a sweep of relative equal highs here. Just as quickly as they were made, they were already swept. Hey, Splash. Good morning. Welcome back. All right, so we've had about 10 minutes so far of little to no movement. Let me just move to a higher time frame, see if there's something else we can see. Right, just in case we get a retracement from this consolidation. Just want to be able to measure that, see where equilibrium lies. All right. I know it's things are moving a little slower now, but keep in mind we're only halfway through our session, so there's plenty of more trading left, plenty more candles to see. So let's not get discouraged. Let's go back down to the lower frame since we see candles moving now. Just want to see where it's landing. All right, so it's traded all the way to the lower extremity of this fair value gap here. Remember the new week opening gap rest in this area. You know what? Since we've taken pretty much everything except for the previous day's high, let me get rid of these markers, these session highs and lows. I want to make sure we can see the measurements as the retracements are happening. As we get closer to 50%, also if we can make it into the new week opening gap, we're at the 38%, which I don't really like to take entries off of, but it's just an interesting point to pay attention to. Yeah, for me, if it doesn't make it to 38%, I don't really consider it a retracement. And then I just wait for the next one. Yep, so we have two rejections here. Both times traded through the fair value gap. Both times we see before the candle closes, we see it push out. We see a slight retracement on this candle. It's now showing a strong bullish momentum out. And so we'll see where it closes now. All right, so pretty much closed out that fair value gap, the bearish one. And now we're going for these relative equal highs now. Oh, caveman, welcome back. Good morning. All right, seems like pretty much all bearish levels have been pushed through and invalidated. Wait for this candle to close, but that looks to be, yeah, I didn't want to speak before the candle closed, but you see that the last second it closed below to leave that bearish fair value gap open. That's why I didn't want to say anything until the candle closed, because I knew that possibility was there. All right, looks like the next candle is going to take care of business. See if we can get a sweep of these equal highs or relative equal highs right here. Okay, let me drop this measurement. There we go. All right, where was that previous day high? All right, 7024. All right, now that we have that marked up on our screen, going to take a peek over to the other indices in the dollar and see where they landed. All right, so the dollar's still having fun in that fair value gap that's below it, the bullish one. And it's projecting slightly, but it's not showing a lot of energy. So nothing to really report at this moment. But we do see good momentum from the Dow as well as the S&P. All right, we're going to need another 10 points or so to take out yesterday's high in the S&P. The Dow is going to take much more than that, but let's see. Yep, the Dow needs about 140 points, so it's gonna take some time, or it's gonna take a huge move to make that happen. Within the same time frame that we see potentially Nasdaq taking yesterday's high and the S&P being 10 points away, so it could theoretically take that within the next half hour as well. But for now, I don't know if anyone's in longs for Nasdaq and if they're waiting for the previous day high to be tapped. But again, as I mentioned, anyone who is in around this 920 level, this fair value gap here around 1010, if you took that as today's silver bullet, and if you held, congratulations, you should be at 100-point profit right now, or anywhere in between. And this is why whenever I have these type of targets set for my trade, I always like to get out like 2 points before, because of this. Sometimes it'll make you wait for 10 to 15 minutes before it delivers the final point. There you go. To deliver 100 points, that was a little over 3.5, or 1 to 3.5 trade. Your risk reward 3.6 to deliver your 100 points. All the way to previous day high, 3.78, 1 to 3.78 trade. Yeah, it's getting close to 11. You're right. Maybe it's waiting to eclipse that during the macro. So give it another 3 minutes or so. All right, there it is. Previous day high has now been taken. So then that essentially crosses off our goal and target for the day. Now, whatever price does is as a bonus compared to our daily target, and we'll just see what it wants to do next. So I'll remove this level. We'll see if we continue to get a push upwards, or if we see some breakage structure and start to seek out lower prices. So what I'm going to do is let me move up to the 15-minute and see if I can't locate another pool of liquidity. All right, this is not too far away. 17,042. All right, which is about equal to this one. So Thursday's 9:30 opening bell, as well as Friday 9:45. So essentially Thursday and Friday's opening bell ran up to the same level, dropped off. So we're going to use those 2 points as our next pool of liquidity if price wants to continue seeking higher. About another 15 points from where we are. Yeah, we'll see what happens with the dollar splash. I see it continues to hold in this 1 hour fair value gap, this bullish fair value gap. And so there could be a rejection at the end of this hour because there's still 10, 11 more minutes left. Or starting next hour, we could see a push up and then into the afternoon, which would then hopefully send commodities moving the other direction. But we'll see. We do have news for the rest of the week, high impact news at that. So anything's possible. But as I mentioned, yeah, today's target of reaching a new high and then sweeping yesterday's high has already been done. So lower prices in commodities, you know, seems to fit that narrative. No, I am not in a trade. I attempted to get in right here, and well, actually, was that it? No, I think let me go to the one. It was on the 1 minute. I'll tell you where I attempted to get in. Yeah, I think I attempted to get in here at the top of this breaker where the fair value gap is. So it did. So this is what happened. I'll show you what happened. All right. So we got, a new low made. Then we had this high taken. So we had a structure break, which then created this as the breaker. Traded back down. As soon as it touched the breaker, it kind of took off. But in doing so, when it traded down and touched the breaker, it created the fair value gap. So that's where my entry was supposed to be, at the fair value gap. And it never came back around. So I never got filled, and then it took off. Then when this fair value gap came around, I looked at it and did the measurement, and the stop loss is going to be 27 points, which was more than what I like to do. So I stayed out of it, thinking that I could get a better entry. And as you can see, that better entry never really came. There was another entry here, but by then we're too far up the price leg, and I didn't want to jump in at the end, even though we did have around somewhere in this area 17,024 or something like that, which was the previous day high, was our target. But I didn't really want to enter here for a target that was right here. Nope. So long story short, I didn't get filled. My entry was a bit conservative for this morning's price range, and so I'll have to wait for another session to get an entry. All right, about 8 minutes or 7 minutes before the next hour. So we are into another macro period. We'll look and see now how that impacts price and whether we see any market structure. Anyone who hasn't hit the like button this morning, if you're enjoying the content, please hit that like button. YouTube will then start to market this channel and this live stream to other live streamers and other traders on YouTube. So that would be a big help. I know it doesn't cost you anything, but it's a big help to me and the channel. So hit the like if you can. If you're also brand new, consider subscribing so you can get invited to all future live streams. And it comes with daily reminders like a half hour before. And also when we go live, you get another reminder. So you won't miss any sessions. So consider subscribing. But in the meantime, definitely hit the like button. I'll be back in 2 minutes. right. All right, so in the last couple minutes, I see that a new high has been put in. We retrace back down into this same fair value gap from just before the macro. We're now looking to see if we get another push out of here for new highs or if it pushes lower. Checking out the other indices, it looks like the S&P is still doing similar to Nasdaq, where they're up in the upper range, still pushing higher, just a little bit off of the high of the hour. But we've seen a pretty significant retracement on the Dow to the tune of about 60 points or so. Okay, there we go. But an open to 11 o'clock hour. All right, let's move up to the 5 minutes so we can see a little bit more of the chart. And let's see if we can't measure this retracement we're having. Jeez. All right, just had a 75-point move in 2 minutes. Holy smokes. Yeah, right back down to the new week opening gap is where it traded to. So we saw rejection off the 50%. Next candle open, traded even further down. And now we'll see where this one closes. So far, it's above. All right. At the same time that we saw price just kind of melt down the last two candles, the last 2 minute candles, we saw the opposite on the dollar. So the dollar was pushing higher, made its highest price of the day. All right. It doesn't look to be coming off of that either right now. So we're going to continue to wait. At least I'm going to continue to wait to see exactly how price reacts. If anything, I would be bearish at the moment. Maybe targets here equal lows at 892. Oh, okay. Yeah, sometimes you have those days where it's up and down. Fauci, some guy is talking some news. Okay. €100. Okay. Awesome. Awesome rainmaker. Yeah. Yeah, make the switch over, you'll know when it's right for you, whether it's a financial move or a more of a technical um, decision. You'll know when it feels right. 16,999. Yep, that's true. You smacked that number with another 30 on top. Yep, looking for these lows to be swept now. Otherwise, we start invalidating these bearish fair value gaps. Equal lows here. Back to the 1 minute. $30. Oh, that was 30-second. Had to equal lows. Uh, hmm. That's a good question. Yeah, right now it's at its weekly opening value. So now it's determining whether it wants to continue lower, whether it's already accomplish what it needed to below the opening value for the week. Oh man, nice, K man, sweet. 5K. I say log out of your account and just paper trade for the rest of the day. Make sure you carry that win until tomorrow. All right, so the 50% mark in the new week opening gap is where price is stuck now. We have tested off of it, pushed out, pushed through it, tested above, and then recovered 1, 2, 3, 4 more times, each time rejected out of it. And now we're back down. We tested the upper level, now 50%. No matter what happens, we continue to reject out of this area. It looks like maybe that may not continue because it continues to press. The more it presses, the more likely it is to get through. And so it actually could close below. So let's see what happens here. We still have another almost 35 seconds left. So there's quite a bit of time. Mhm. That's unreal. $882 would get us a 1 to 2 on this rejection fair value gap here. Um, just want just want to point out there's a 47-point stop loss. That's why I'm not in this trade. It looks like it's a nice trade, but there's no way I'm going to take a nearly $1,000 valued stop loss on one contract. Even if it does deliver the 1 to 2 trade and that would have netted me $2,000, I'm happy to pass that opportunity up. Okay, Antonio, what leaderboard are you looking at? Yeah, Luis, you're right. Good morning. Welcome back. It is moving like crazy. You're right about that. All right, on that measurement, we do have several times it passed below 50%. This was the first time it closed in that area just a couple candles ago. Now we've already seen a push out of it. So let's see now if price continues to remain above this weekly New week opening gap. Let's see if it does that. If it does, we could be running back up to the top where we have several equal highs right here. Just 10 points below the next pool of liquidity. Oh, the Robins. Oh, from last year. Okay, got it. 491%. Wow. Jeez. So it's like taking 150,000 account up to, what's that, about 700? Let me take that back. They grew it by 700, so that'll be 150,000 account with a balance of near 850. Jeez, wow. What a trader. It's an amazing result. Yeah, we'll see who wins the Robins this year. I know in previous years, ICT said he was going to get in, and for whatever reason, he or His competitors never joined, and so there was this big feud leading up to it, and then no one ever made a move. So we'll see if they actually live up to it this year, but it should be interesting. That's correct. Yes. Yep. Antonio, I'm in a long. Right. I was just going to say price seems to be stalling here. Let's see if this candle. Okay, so now it's made a new high over the last few minutes or so, or for the hour. So my thought process on this trade was okay. So we were bullish, right? It's just market structure shift. We had these lows here swept, which was when it made the new high here that made this the low that we were paying attention to, right? We had that swept on this movement down, so now we were short. With this being our area that we're looking for a market structure shift, traded back up, made a new low. So then that made this the new high. That made a market structure shift, which we saw push through here, also creating a breaker with a fair value gap. So a market structure shift back bullish, a breaker, fair value gap. There's my entry. And then for a low hanging fruit target, we have equal highs. So it would want to run that liquidity here. But I like to do the 1 to 2 trade when I'm coming out of a fair value gap. So it led me to the next pool of liquidity up here around 43. Price point. Entry at 989 and 3/4. TP at 41 and 3/4. So that's 11. So it's about 52 points roughly. And I think we can let's break even this trade now and just see what happens. Each point is 20. I'm doing the mini, so each point is $20. So that's roughly 1,000. Oh, you said I don't have volume? Um, I just never really took volume into account in my analysis, whether there was a lot of trading going on or not. But I typically like to trade mostly on days with high impact news, so the volume is usually not an issue. I'm assuming VA is volume. If it's not, let me know. All right, almost 11:30, so we got another half hour on our session. Hope everyone's enjoying it so far. If you have any questions or comments, go ahead and throw it in the chat while we have some time here. We can discuss. Oh, value area. Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what that is. If you say you notice, it's not on my chart. Oh man, look at those, the last 6 or 7 candles. I think I may break even. Value area high, value area low, PLC. All right, Fauci, good job. Way to go. Because I'm trying to stay in the trade. I'm trying to give it room to retrace and not take me out. Um, Break even, or if you give me $100, it's a little bit different, but it's not that much different. I'd rather stay in the trade and get the 1,000 if I can. So that's why my stop is just over break even. I want to pay the fees and make sure I don't lose anything, but I'm really trying to not get stopped out. And honestly, I should have left my stop where it originally was, which it should be down here to stay in the trade. GH, I'm with Topstep. This level right here. See if we can't get a push for another 3 or 4 points. Just give me a little more confidence that we're moving upwards. Right, that's encouraging, to say the least. All right, if we're able to overtake this high here, then I can shift my stop loss up just a little bit because I wouldn't expect this low to be taken. Not without a market structure shift. Let's see, high here is 1675. Right here is 1675. Alrighty, looking good so far. I needed to reach up to 2275. Relax Nation. I don't believe there's any discount codes at the moment. I think it's just regular price. The discount code they had 2 weeks ago expired on that Friday, first week of the year. All right, Antonio, good job. Way to go. I think I'm going to shift my stop up a bit now, just in case. We've been sitting here almost as long as I've been in the trade, so it's I think it's good to just at least move that over. All right. Appreciate you. Thank you. We just close the door. Let's see now. What does price want to do? Fauci. Yeah. Been doing this for a while, and I'm just really trying to see the process through as opposed to being impatient. So let's see what happens. Right. Shut it down there. All right. So that didn't deliver to target, but I also moved my stop loss. I'll go ahead and set up that original trade as it was, just so you can see where the original stop. I originally had the stop loss here, so it's a 24 point, and then this was should have been 48. All right, but the real stop loss should be here, right? But I couldn't take a 30-point stop loss. But there it is. I was able to get 10 points out of it, which nothing to brag about, but it did avenge that small loss I took on Friday, which was about somewhere around the same size. So that was good to at least get that back. Okay, all right, Fauci. That's good. I'll continue being this way then. Hopefully, it continues to help. Yeah, I actually learned from watching someone else live stream as well. When I saw how patient they were, then I knew how bad I knew how bad my patience was, and what I needed to improve. And it came from watching someone else and watching them be able to um, look at the candles, even though it looked like it might have been an entry, still looking for something better and waiting for exactly their entry as opposed to just something that looks good. That was probably what I learned the most from watching others live stream. Yep, you also had a fair value gap, but down a little more than 50%, same as in the breaker. So this actually might be what launches price. I didn't re-enter, not sure why I didn't, but anyway. Traded down to 50% of the leg here. Like I said, 50% of the breaker as well. Let's stretch that across. Let's get rid of the long tool here. This would have actually been the best entry for me since I don't like to do more than 20 to 25 on a stop loss. Yep. And that 50 points I was looking for would be right here. It's okay. There's always another trade. There's more trading coming this afternoon, and likely I'll find an entry there. Okay, another 20 minutes or so. Let's get back over to. All right, LaBomb Inc. Welcome back. Good morning. Yeah, when it comes to trading, like the trade I just entered, that's a trade that you expect to just start delivering. Like the price action we saw right here, this is what we would have expected to continue, right? And as soon as it traded down into it and broke out with one candle, then it basically gave us nothing afterwards. So that's a good trade, I guess, to abandon or at least take partials on. And yeah, we'll look for different price action later on in the afternoon, maybe just after lunch. I normally don't trade lunch, so I'm probably not going to be at the charts during that time. But we'll look after lunch and see if we can get something that's a bit more energetic, a bit more straightforward than this type of price action we have now. This is definitely what they would consider high resistance liquidity. So yeah, I'm not interested in needing 100 candles to reach target. I mean, it's also worth noting that we are near highs here as well, right? We had to look back several days looking for liquidity pools. The low hanging fruit of previous day high or the New York high, all of that's been swept this morning, and that's why when you come in at opening bell or just before, you set those previous session highs and lows as your target. It's going to be easier to achieve those. It's going to be exactly what price wants to do right now. Um, and it's going to be more relevant to current price action since it was the most recent. If we start looking back 3, 4, 5 days looking for pools of liquidity, it may be relevant, but it doesn't necessarily have to happen in this hour. It could happen next hour or the hour after that. And so that's where we are now, where price is just consolidating and a bit stale at the moment. And we just need to be more patient, especially after we had so much movement this morning. It's natural for it to want to settle. Right, we're looking at just from the opening bell about 180 point movement. So we had quite a bit happen this morning. So let's just be patient with price, and later on we know that it'll continue moving. I'm gonna leave the. I was gonna remove the Fibonacci, but I'll leave that up there just in case we get a deeper retracement. We can see where the 61, 71, and 78% are. All right, Luis, let's see what he says. Yeah. Yep. Oh, okay. Mm. Alrighty, well, that's a new week opening gap. It should be there regardless of the time frame, but let's move to a higher time frame so it's not so hard to find. Oops. All right, 18 down to 04. Right, so it's essentially 33, I mean, is the candle bodies here, right? And 43 of the candle bodies here. All right, not exactly, it's 41. Right, so we're back in the price range that we had to open up the year, and so we'll see if the price is ready to take those highs now, or if it needs a bit more time. Let's get back down to the 1 minute. Okay, so we are now at the lower extremity of the breaker. We saw price stop here, so it didn't break through and it closed inside still. We're now seeing it trade back up to the midpoint. The low end of this breaker is the 62% retracement level, so that's also been achieved. All right, Ninja Ape. So down we go. Let's see what happens. Just keep in mind, we're not bearish until we get below here. We had a price run up where this became the high, this became the low, and we never saw that high broken. So the low never shifted. All right, almost that time again. Go ahead and mark that marker up so we can see when we get there. All right, we're closing in on about 10 minutes left in our session. Please go ahead and ask any final questions that you may have. Anybody confused by what happened this morning? We just had this low taken, 72 3/4 and 72 and no equal lows. But we do see a rejection back into the zone up close to the 50% mark. And now it's 1150. Yep, you're right. Luxo car vibes. I'm still trying to understand. Okay, you want to go into detail in what Luxo, what capacity? What are you talking about? I think I try to do a good job of explaining what the candles are doing, or when we would see something change based on a level being hit. But if there's more that you need to know, please let me know exactly what it is you don't understand, or any terms that you heard that you're not aware of or not familiar with. Let me know that as well. Luxo, what I also want to put out to you, if you're a new trader, it seems like you're new. Um, if you go down to my description there, I set up the Discord this weekend. So there is a link in there for my Discord. If you go in there, I follow ICT trading concepts mostly. So if you go inside of my Discord, there's a link that says like ICT resources. And what it is there are YouTube links for a bunch of different subjects that maybe you heard a term, like I said, breaker block, and you're like, I don't know what a breaker block is. Where in there will be a breaker block, and I'll have a YouTube video that it points to for you to then go and watch and get more information on breaker blocks. So if you're really, really new and you just have a ton of questions, that would be a great resource to start. But if you have specific questions right now, I'm happy to answer them. In regards to price action, okay. That's still, price action is a very general term. Let me see. All right. At its basic level, at its basic core level, like when you see me, for instance, here where I'm put up a Fibonacci and I said, let's measure this. So when you're just thinking about price action, I want you to split them into two pieces. I want you to split it into premium and discount. And it's set up like this. Start at the 50% mark. Everything below becomes your discount, and everything above becomes premium. Therefore, within this entire price range from this low and this high, if you're looking to go long, meaning you want to buy, you want to wait for price to retrace down below 50%. This entire area is considered discount. And this is where you would want to take a lower risk long. If you take it up here, look at how far price can retrace and still not change price structure and still be bullish. That's why you want to wait for price to dip below 50%, because then your stop loss can be, for instance, from here to here, which is a smaller range than if you needed to put your stop loss from here to all the way down here. So that's a simple lesson in price action. You want to take longs from a discounted position. If you were short and you wanted to sell, then you want to take it from a premium position up here, because then your stop loss would only be from maybe an entry here and a stop loss there, as opposed to now you want to sell and you enter a trade here, but now your stop loss still needs to be up here. Why do I use the 1 minute chart? The 1 minute chart, the reason why I use that is because, especially when you're looking for an entry or a trade, you have the smallest range of candles. So for instance, like if you look at this for, let's just go from here to here, right? You're talking about this is at 1 hour, so it's 60 candles. And you can see the sides of each candle. But on the 5 minute, it's going to be this candle plus this one plus the next three. So the range will be from this at the low to now this is the high, right? For one candle. And then if you go to the 15 minute, it's going to be this is the low and this is the high. So the candle is just much larger. So if you're looking for where do I get in at, where do I put an entry and place a stop loss that minimizes my risk, you want to go to the lowest price chart that you can. And most people prefer the 1 minute. The 30-second, 15-second, those really, really smaller ones can be even better, but you have to be really quick to get your entry because the candles move so fast. And also not everyone has access to that. If you don't have a premium package for TradingView, you don't have access to anything less than the 1 minute. So the 1 minute is the smallest denominator that you have. But answer the question, the 1 minute chart is mostly for entries and it allows you to minimize your stop. Yep. Yep. Buying discount, selling premium. Absolutely. What about 2 minute? 2 minute is similar to the 1 minute. You just get half as many candles. And sometimes the 2 minute is better. Sometimes you will not have a fair value gap on the 1 minute, but on the 2 minute you will. And so I use those kind of interchangeably. They're kind of the same. The 2 minute a lot of times is like, let's say you have a bunch of candles that are really close to each other. Like let's say this kind of range here where everything's kind of jumbled together. Instead of looking at 10 of these, it's better to go to the 2 minute and it's only 5, but it's the same range. So it allows you to see a little bit better. So here's the 2 minute, right? This area doesn't look nearly as bad. And then you can go up to the 3 minute. And again, it's not as bad. But the higher you go, obviously the larger the range of the candles are. So your stop loss would then be even larger. So just keep that in mind. All right, everyone. 3 minutes, 3 minutes left. Any final questions? We're back at the new week opening gap. Trading inside, still closing inside, but we're back to that level, which we saw we kind of got stuck over here until we were able to break this low, sweep some liquidity, and then we saw price move. All right, headed back down. Let's go ahead and put that low back up. I'll get rid of the Fibonacci because now it doesn't matter. Okay, this low as well. We know we're in a macro period. I can delete that. Okay. All right, remember I said that market structure shift starts here. If we're able to take out this low, keep in mind we're in the macro period. So if we're able to make a market structure shift in this period, we can look for an entry. I won't be taking it because I'm going to take a break. And there's always more entries, so I don't feel like I need to. Black with the white and blue. Yeah, I know a lot of people do like the black background. Um, doesn't work as well for me. Sorry about that. All right, Bolsa. Hello, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to the channel. Yeah, this is a 20 EMA. Anyone's wondering, it's a 20 EMA. Oh yeah, Stoic definitely. When you just heard me talk about market structure shift and we need to get below here, I had forgotten all of those lessons once I got a bit more advanced as a trader, and I started to question whether certain market structure shifts were really market structure shifts. And Stoic's video really uh, helped me relearn some of those early lessons and solidified that as part of my strategy. So now I feel much more comfortable with market structure and reading it and understanding when something has happened. And now that I'm also looking into macros and what happens during those times, it's really a good skill to have. But yeah, if you check out my Discord, it'll have links to majority of ICT's videos by subject, so you'll know exactly how to find it. Hey. Tried to buy at premium, then the price kept going. It's almost 10% of my portfolio. How can I avoid that? You mean you tried to buy in a premium position and then price sold off and you lost almost 10% of your portfolio? Well, the first thing you want to do is you want to make sure you have a stop loss. You don't want price to be able to sweep away 10% of your portfolio if you weren't willing to risk that. So make sure you have a stop loss at all times. Try to keep your stop. I would say make sure no one trade is worth more, especially if you're asking me this question. That means you're probably pretty new. Make sure you don't have one trade that's larger than 0.5% of your portfolio. I normally would say no more than 1%, but you seem pretty new. So cut that in half. 0.5% is the maximum trade you should put on. So when you're getting ready to set up a trade, like if I'm looking for a long here and I want to buy, 0.5%. Let's say you have a $100,000 account. That's $500. And in Nasdaq, $500 would be 25 points. So I know this stop loss can't be more than 25 points, right? And it says it right here. It says stop 25. So I know now I'm risking $500 on this trade if I take it. And then I can look and say, all right, well, I want to do a 1 to 2. So I want to make 1,000 if it works out for me. And you want to go in there. And therefore, if price drops, it'll stop you out right here and cut your trade off. So you only lose, 0.5%. Well, how to ensure losses are not hit every time. Well, that you have to trade with market structure. So you have to look at the higher time frames. Yes, we enter on the 1 minute, but you have to be looking at the 1 hour and figuring out where are we? Where did we just come from? And where are we going? So for instance, this morning we were in here. We knew we had just come from down here where we had swept these lows right here, right? We came down sweeping lows and then we started buying up. We created a fair value gap here. We broke market structure right here, which then said we're buying. We got up there, we created a fair value gap. So a trade down meant, okay, that's our entry. We go long. We have a target of reaching these highs right here. And that target was met. And when that target is met, instead of believing it's going to go and take out all-time highs, you know that the daily target is already done. You entered somewhere in this area. You've gotten 50, 75, or 100 points. And then instead of being greedy, you go sit on the sideline and you wait for price to set up for the next. And what you would have saw is it immediately gave you, or maybe not immediately, but at some point in here, it gave you a market structure shift. Right? I'll show you how that happened. Right? As price is building up, every time it makes a new high, there's a new low that you need to consider for market structure shift. So when this high was made right here, that became this low. It then retraced 2 candles here, made a new high. So now this became the low that you're paying attention to, right? And then when it broke down over here with this big candle, it swept this low, which then told you were bearish. So as price was building up, and if you went long up here, you could have put a stop loss right here because you know that if price breaks below here, then market structure is now going in the opposite direction and it's likely not to work out the way you originally intended. So you want to get out. And in that case, you would have saw price breaking down and you would have looked for a short. As it worked its way back up, it's working into this big fair value gap that it created. I was going long. It didn't work out for me. But essentially, that's what you would have been waiting for. You'd have been waiting for some type of short. Or if you were going long, it would have been like me, where you would have saw an entry here. So again, taking entries with the lowest risk, meaning you want to take it in discount. So you wait for price to retrace and then go for a long. Long-winded answer, but hopefully that helps. The longer you hang out with us, the more videos you watch, it'll start making more sense to you. So just stick with it, stay with us, and you'll get it. Don't worry. Yeah, you're right. There's another thing. So here you see I'm taking minis, E-mini. E-mini is worth $20 per point. But there is another chart called the micro, which is only 10% of the value here. So each point is worth $2. Therefore, you can take a larger trade with a larger point risk, but the value is much less compared to your account balance. So that's a good idea. Yep. Alrighty, everyone. We're a little deeper into the next hour than I wanted to, but this is good. Glad there's a good question coming up. And then we're going to have new people join who aren't as seasoned as some of the others. So it's imperative that we also help them out. But they also need to do the work that we did. And I'm pointing you out to resources. So make sure you go to my Discord and grab those links. Make sure you start watching those videos so you can gain a greater understanding. And back testing is key. Good job, Dustin, on reminding everyone that you gain your confidence from your own work. So the more back testing you do, the better off you'll be. With that being said, everyone, I do need to run if we're going to be back here in another 55 minutes. So take care for the next bit of time. I'll see you all in 55 minutes for everyone who's joining the afternoon session. And yeah, it's been a good one this morning. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your participation. Hit the like button on your way out. If you're new or you want to come back, make sure you subscribe. Talk to you later.